Elvis Aaron Presley was born on January 8, 1935, in a two-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi. Elvis was influenced by gospel music, country, and the R&B he heard on Beale Street when his family moved to Memphis. In 1953, Elvis walked into Sun Studios and paid $4 to record a two-song demo. Sam Phillips liked what he heard and decided to cut a record with Elvis. That's All Right became a hit. Before long, Elvis caught the attention of promoter Colonel Tom Parker, who put the young singer on tour. Everywhere Elvis played, his great looks and evocative moves got a near riotous response from crowds, especially females. The Colonel knew he had a superstar on his hands and signed him to an exclusive deal in 1955, buying out his Sun studio contract and signing a deal with RCA.
And if you go back, you listen to those early records and think about what pop singing sounded like before that, you would think this was from another planet.
In 1956, Elvis's first RCA single, Heartbreak Hotel, topped the charts.
There is a reason why they call Elvis the King. You know, I mean, he was the guy who stepped up on the stage and kind of kicked that door open.
Ed Sullivan made it clear he would never have Elvis on his show, but changed his tune when he saw the ratings Milton Berle and Steve Allen got when he appeared on their shows.
When people think that Elvis was a safe figure back in the 50s, that is not true. You know, this was a guy who was, you know, at the center of controversy and broke down some barriers as a result of it.
The most controversial thing about Elvis was the sexuality and the abandon that he brought to his performance. You know, the way that he danced on stage, the way that he moved his hips on stage. You know, this was not something that the mass audience had seen before.
The censors watched closely, and by Elvis's third appearance on Ed Sullivan, audiences were only allowed to see him from the waist up. At the peak of his fame, Uncle Sam came calling, and Elvis headed off to Germany to serve in the Army in 1958. While overseas, he met a 14-year-old Priscilla Beaulieu, who he would marry 9 years later in 1967. Their only child, Lisa Marie, was born on February 1, 1968. When he returned, he was still popular, but by the mid-60s, Elvis's career was in trouble. While he was releasing mediocre singles and making what seemed like the same bad movie over and over again, he was surpassed musically by artists like the Beatles, who had been inspired by Elvis. Although it seemed like Elvis's best days were behind him, he was about to make an unlikely and triumphant return. Dressed in black leather, looking like he had something to prove, Elvis appeared in a CBS TV event known as the 1968 Comeback Special. By 1969, he was back on top of the charts with Suspicious Minds and blowing fans away during his record-breaking performances in Las Vegas. His return to the top culminated with Elvis Aloha from Hawaii, a concert special seen by over 1.5 billion people around the world. Though he had made it back to the top, his life was coming apart. He began to put on weight and rely more and more on prescription drugs. In 1977, this excessive lifestyle caught up to him, and he died of a heart attack in his beloved Graceland estate at the age of 42.
There is no question that his impact on the world was he's the one who planted the flag for rock and roll, for this new music, for this new generation. That is the moment that the world switches over into rock and roll as the dominant expression of youth in America and then around the world.